Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and today I have Aimee with me. She is going to be talking about her journey coming from the Dominican Republic. Welcome, Aimee. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Heidy. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I am super excited to share my story with everybody today.
So excited to have you here. So let us get started with you sharing your background, growing up in the Dominican Republic, and what events actually led you to move to the United States.
Okay, so my name is Aimee Portes, as Heidy introduced me. My parents are from the Dominican Republic, and I was born in Puerto Rico, but raised in the Dominican Republic my entire life. And so, being that said, I consider myself to be a Dominican. So I was raised there since the age of 1 month old, all the way through 17 years old. Really, what led us to migrate to the United States in 2007 was because I am the middle child. I have two other siblings, and we are just like a year and a half apart from each other. And so it was like one after the other going into college, and things were just really getting super expensive for my parents. And so, being that we were born in USA, my mom said, let's just migrate. Let's take the advantage that you guys are US citizens, and you guys can go to college there. And so that's how it all began with our migration into the United States.
Gotcha. So it was because of education. That is actually a very common answer for people to come because of education. So coming here, what was your first culture shock? I know like you were, young adult. So what was your first culture shock? Or had you visited you were born in Puerto Rico, but had you visited like the States before moving here?
So yes, every year more or less, because my family is all over the world, we would normally come and visit family. So I had been to Florida, I had been to New York, never during winter time. So yes.
Yes.
And so I had visited several part of the United States, but coming to New Jersey in pure winter time, that was the most shocking experience ever. Coming with basically nothing, prepared for those winter days, and having to just, get those big jackets and get used to taking the train, public transportation. So all those things were kind of like a culture shock for me, and just little by little trying to get adjusted to how life was now going to be in the USA.
Yeah, for sure. And what about the language? Did you learn English back home or did you come like not knowing any English?
So my mom's background, she's been a teacher for 25 years. And
Oh,
so she taught in the American schools in the Dominican Republic. And so we were lucky enough that because she was a teacher, she would get becas. And
okay.
so if you want to translate that,
Scholarships.
scholarships, there you go. It's
Yeah.
just left my mind. And so we were lucky enough to go to school with those scholarships. And so we went to American schools back there, and that's why I know the language. So the language, not so much was like a culture shock, although I didn't graduate all the way to high school going to an American school. I stopped at 6th grade in an American school, and then I went to an all Spanish school throughout high school.
Gotcha, gotcha. I have heard of bilingual schools back in the Dominican Republic. They're not, like public schools here. They're private schools, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That is correct. They
Okay.
are private.
Yeah. And so, okay, so you had visited the United States before moving and, gone back and forth, but how was it visiting DR for the first time after you guys settled and moved here?
So I came at a very young age. And so those were like the party years.
Yep.
Yep. And so I don't know. I was so excited because I got to go back for December, which was a big
Oh my
thing.
God, Christmas. Yes.
Yes. And I had left the boyfriend back home. And so I was super excited to go back, and my friends and, the family that I left back. And so going back for that first time, I mean, it was like the most amazing trip ever.
How long did you guys stay?
We were able to go for like 2 weeks and a half because we
Oh,
had that break
awesome.
from college.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember one year, my parents were like, "Okay, we're going to Christmas in DR," and we stayed for 3 weeks. And it was like, to this day, it was like the most amazing trip I have ever had back home, like back to the
Yeah.
Dominican Republic. It's amazing. So if anyone is watching and you want to experience the Christmas in DR, I highly recommend it. It's a party every single day. It's such a different vibe than what it is here.
For sure.
Yeah. So now, you've been living here for a while. Is there anything, if anything, do you miss about living in the Dominican Republic?
If I am truly honest, and a lot of people ask me this, they're like, Aimee, do you
Mhm.
see yourself going back to the Dominican Republic to
Yeah.
live ever? And I always say no, but you never know. You never know.
Mm.
It's just that migrating to the United States has just opened so many doors for me. And I feel accomplished. I feel like I've done so much. If I look back, if I were still in the Dominican Republic, I probably wouldn't have accomplished as much. Life is just a lot much harder. You know, the way that they pay, it's not like here. And so
Mhm.
life just, it's a little bit harder there than here. So what I really truly miss maybe is the food, my
Oh,
grandma's cooking.
yes.
Getting together on Sundays what's like a major thing in our family. And since now all the cousins have migrated as well, and some are in
Mhm.
DC, some are in Spain, it's not the same. But I do miss those reunions that we would have every Sunday at somebody's house for lunch.
Yeah, you just mentioned a few things about like how life is just so different over there. So it's like harder because we have a lot of conveniences in the United States, which I will say that we just went to the Dominican Republic for Christmas back in December. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, things take so long to get
Yes,
done here.
yes.
And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to the fast paced life of the United States, but it's just like everything just took long. And then there was also, we were staying at a resort, and there was also these two employees who kept like, they kept finding me and my husband and kept coming up to us like, oh, we're having a celebration and we want to take you guys and all this stuff. And I was just like, why do they just like keep pushing this? But then one of the girls was like, you know what? She was like, you're Dominican, right? And all this is in Spanish. I was like, yes, I'm Dominican. She was like, okay, so Dominican to Dominican. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We just need you to go to this thing so we can get points, because that's really what we need. She was like, the salary sucks, like we, like they don't get paid well. She was like, so they mostly get commissioned by the points of like how many people actually go to like, this thing that they were. And I was like, and then now that you mentioned that, it like, okay, it just makes sense as to why like either her or her coworker kept like coming up to me and my husband trying to get us to go to this thing, because it was like they just needed the points for, to be able to make more money, because it's just a different, lifestyle than what it is here in the United States.
It is completely different. And I mean, people do work super hard over there. They're
Yeah.
just not compensated right. So
Yep.
it's kind of sad.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. So I want to ask, which I love asking this question to all my guests because it's different for everybody. And I do believe that it does differ sometimes, from native born Americans to then immigrants. Is, what does the American dream mean to you?
When I first came to the United States, I had heard about the American dream. And
Mhm.
back then, it was just really like settling, being independent, feel like I'm working and I'm actually able to do stuff with the money that I'm making. Because I was working back in Dominican Republic, and I was working Monday through Sunday in a call center, and it was like bilingual.
Yeah.
And I was making like $300 a month.
Mm.
So you could only imagine coming here, the American dream was like, oh my God, can I work and actually see the money and actually do stuff with the money that I'm making? Like, is it going to be enough? Am I going to be able to become independent? Am I going to be able? And all those things truly did happen for me very quickly. I'm not going to lie. I was working two jobs, but I got here, and my first thing was, I need a car. Like, I hated public transportation, especially during the
Yes.
winter days. And so I'm like, I need a car ASAP. And so I was working 2 jobs. I was working at my college library, and then I was working at Wendy's, and I was able to buy my first car within 3 months. So that was like a big deal for me, because I know that back in Dominican Republic, it would have taken me either a huge debt, because this one I was able to buy it cash, like $3,000 cash for a used car. But back then, you don't find, back in my country, you don't find a car for
Yeah.
$3,000 that works, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was the American dream when I first got here, getting my car, and I got that accomplished within the first 3 months.
Gotcha. And so what would you say your American dream is now?
So now my American dream is, as an entrepreneur, I don't know, I feel like being able to just not have to work a 9 to 5 job,
Mm.
and devote all my energy into my entrepreneurship journey. That would be my American dream. I've seen it happen for so many people, so I know it could happen for me too.
It seems like that is the trend now, is because I wrote an article about that, about the American dream and how it has changed over the years. Because when you would think about the American dream, it was like the white picket fence house with the 2 kids and the cars and, a good career. However, times have changed, and now one job is not sustainable, with where we're at now. And so like the American dream seems now to have more freedom, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is for you, just the freedom to like, do things when you want, entrepreneurship, or having your 9 to 5 and a side hustle just to get that extra income, to just have, the freedom to do what it is that you want. So that's why I like to ask, because it has changed. And then also with immigrants, like they have, this vision of what America is before, right? But then once they come here, it's different, right? It's like completely different. So I love that question. And I love seeing the trend and like the changes that's going on, even with people, here, like how their American dream has changed. And you mentioned your entrepreneurship, right? So I want you to also talk about your business, what it is that you do, and then how people can actually, connect with you.
Sure. So for the past 2 years, I've been in the holistic anti-aging world. And so I just love, it's become a passion of mine to help women look and feel better from the inside out. So I just help them get healthier, get better skin, and just feel confident in their own skin again. I know that for me, when I started, I had just had my third baby, and so I had this mommy belly pouch that we tend to have after giving birth,
Yes.
and it was a
Yes.
very stubborn one, and so I started my journey with the weight loss program, because I was not feeling comfortable in my body, and I wanted to
Mm.
shed all that unnecessary fat. And so that's how it started for me with this entrepreneurship journey. I started as a product consumer, and then I just fell in love with the entire product line and decided to give it a shot. I had never been an entrepreneur before. I had never sold anything, but I just fell in love with the products. And I said, I mean, if people are noticing the changes in me and they're asking me, what am I doing? It means that it's working.
Yeah.
And so it's just became super easy to share with people on social media, my family members. And yeah, it's been 2 years now that I've been lucky enough to help tons of women feel confident again in their skin.
Awesome. And so if anyone wants to try the products or get in contact with you in regards to that, how can they do so?
Absolutely. So you guys can find me on Facebook, Aimee Portes. And all my platforms is my name. It's Aimee Portes. I'm on TikTok and on Instagram as well. And yeah, once you contact me through those social media platforms, then we can connect, and I could send you my link if you would like to get to see the products that it is that I offer. And yeah, we can connect that way afterwards.
Perfect. I will include the links to your social medias and the show notes and the show description so people can find that easily. And lastly, just wrapping this up, Aimee, what is one advice you would give to someone who may be thinking of moving to the United States?
Okay, good question. Love that question. So here's the thing, guys. Before, or not before, maybe even now, people think that coming to the United States, everything's going to be handed to them and that they're going to be able to see or get things the easy way out. And I just want you guys to know that if you are trying to come to the United States, come with your mind prepared to know that you're going to have to work to get the things that you want in life. Yes, it's going to be a much easier road for you from wherever you're trying to come, because things do get achieved much easier and faster here in the United States, but you do have to put the work and the energy into whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in the United States. So that would be my only humble advice, to just mentally prepare yourself that you're coming to the US for the American dream, but you have to work for it.
You have to work for it. I love it. Aimee, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Heidy, for having me.